When I started conducting my research for this video, I was expecting to uncover the story of two pieces of media that had been lost to the infinite library of the internet years ago. One of an assassination, and another of the last stand of a country seemingly captured on a live television broadcast. What I found instead was the story of a nation's naivety leading its people into waters their ship was never built to navigate, and ultimately having their sacrifices forgotten forever. Hi, I'm Enoch, the server historian, and this is STADT, the Wolf SMPs Forgotten Freedom Fighters. Our story began a few months ago when I happened upon this screenshot of two videos that, at the time, looked strikingly familiar to me. I was confident I've seen these before and might have even had them downloaded on my PC. These two are footage of live broadcasts from one PZBC4 local news. What struck me as strange was that both videos ended abruptly, cut short by something that appeared to happen inside the studio itself. We'll get to the first video another time, as sequentially, it happens later on in the story. But for now, we focus our attention to Death of Democracy, Panzerstadt's last chilling broadcast. We're taken to what appears to be a broadcast of a Minecraft war. But what we're watching isn't live at all. It's Channel 4's repurposed B-roll, as over top of this video, we can hear someone addressing us as viewers, telling us, quote, not to believe the stories and propagandas. This pleading was then abruptly cut by what is assumed to be the station itself to the technical difficulty screen of Channel 4. Ominously, the broadcast doesn't shift back to its B-roll, as we hear a studio celebrating and a broadcaster announcing Channel 4 is back in the hands of the people. This is what I recall to the best of my abilities, but we really couldn't know until we uncover the footage, if it's still out there. So the search for these videos began. The initial search turned up very little. The screenshot didn't give us much to work with, not even giving the channel these videos were posted on, or whose DMs this was sent in. And visiting the links tell us that these videos have been deleted entirely. I had to track this screenshot back to its original owner, but as it stood, it seems as though it had been telephoned through so many people that nobody I asked seemed to know who it was connected to. That was until I found someone who, though he wasn't the original owner of the picture, knew much more than anyone else I had contacted. And it broke the case wide open. Nem was a regular character at the Wolf SMP, having been a member since the server's first seasons in 2022. The SMP itself was not very popular, and according to Nem, hasn't been very lively past the third season. Nevertheless, the people that existed on it created lore and conflict whenever they can. Such was the case for Panzerstadt. As of current, not much is known about the server's politics, players, and history, other than what Nem had summarized to me. Panzerstadt was founded by a player named Timberwolf midway into Season 2. Literally translated, it meant Tank City, or less literally, the Defended City, It grew to become one of the server's biggest superpowers, and ultimately, its people wanted to display their strengths in numbers. Nem then introduces us to Nextonia, a superpower that was experiencing border disputes at the same time as the rise of Panzerstadt. According to the official SMP wiki, one of the only remaining sources of this story, the dispute was over a small artificial landmass named Cat Island, named as such due to the significant number of cats that inhabited it. The wiki stated that it was a, quote, Nextonian backyard for messing around in ways such as spawning in 100 cats, end quote. Due to an oversight, the country's borders did not include the island, leaving it to be found and subsequently inhabited by Nem and his friends, where they built their base. Being reminded of the existence of Cat Island, however, Nextonia declared that Nem and his friends were squatting on Nextonian territory, albeit unmarked. But Nem refused to pack up and leave. After all, the rules were clear. The borders marked the extent of a country's sovereignty, and it did not include Cat Island. As diplomacy failed to resolve the dispute and both sides' claims only became more defined and uncompromising, the tensions birthed the Cold War. For the purpose of preparing for war, Nextonia would enlist the allyship of Panzerstadt, naive and desperate to prove its strength as the world's defended city. Nem believed that Panzerstadt wasn't fed the whole truth, just a modicum of it, painting him and his friends as the enemies. And Panzerstadt bought every word. And then the war came. The wiki covered some parts of the war down to its very specifics, and other parts were left without much explanation. But the outcome was far from decisive. Nem and his friends, despite being outnumbered, fought the Nextonia-Panzerstadt alliance until its eventual surrender, wiping Nextonia off of the board entirely and ruling Panzerstadt under a puppet government that answered only to them. Strangely enough, though the wiki had dedicated pages for each significant part of the SMP's lore, Panzerstadt's page was nowhere to be found. As a result, I couldn't find anything related to the country, its territory, or its people. Panzerstadt's absence in the SMP's official wiki, despite being pivotal enough in many stages of the season, confused and eluded me. And it wouldn't make sense until Nem exposed something that cleared everything up. As Nextonia was preparing to revolt against their oppressors, they recruited people from wherever they could, including some Panzerstadtians who wanted to be free from their captors. Or so they claimed. As unbeknownst to Nextonia, their operations had been leaked to Nem and his company by an independent whistleblower, rumored to be Panzerstadtian. The leak was significant enough that Nem and his friends were able to repel the revolution and keep Nextonia down for the rest of the season. Admittedly, I wrote the script confused and bewildered, unsure of who's telling the truth, who's more or less in the wrong, and the context and intention behind every action in this story. The wiki was not consistent, or for that matter even complete, and my only tie to the actual story itself didn't remember much about what happened that day. This was where I would have concluded this video. And then I found it. Midway into the production of this video, I found the broadcast that started it all. A 30-second clip of what was dubbed Panzerstadt's alleged last stand. Here it is.
Don't believe any of these stories.
What form will that cooperation take?
Well, that they do not publish any of these propaganda lies without...
The broadcast will return shortly.
Channel 4 is on the air again to serve the people.
It was just as I remembered it, but discovering it only made more questions than answers. For one, it appears that this final battle, what I believe to be a B-roll from the Cat Island War, doesn't actually take place on Cat Island, or at least not the artificial island the wiki described. It takes place on a circular glass disc above a landmass that's connected mainly to a larger continent. Furthermore, the wiki mentions the existence of Luftgrenadiers, Panzerstadt's air force, that were unable to operate due to lack of munitions on the part of the Nextonians, but also that their main base of operations was ransacked prior to the battle, making it unsafe to proceed. And indeed, in the video, we see the main base of Rika chambers, but also the Luftgrenadiers themselves, clearly fighting. I count at least 2 of them here. And to make things weirder, the strangest part of the story thus far is the audio used in this footage. It isn't professionally mixed, but neither does it sound like a home ARG voice acting. After digging into the audio, I traced the source back to this video on YouTube, recalling the final broadcast of a controversial former president of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos, before the broadcast was liberated by freedom fighters. Whether this parallel was intentional, coincidental, or simply an aesthetic choice is impossible to know. I believe that Panzerstadt was not only lied to by someone who claimed to be fighting for freedom, but their naivety clouded their judgment, and their eagerness to prove themselves in a war led to their eventual downfall. Later, under the occupation of Nem and Company, the truth was revealed, and Panzerstadt chose their side one last time by reporting on the allies that had caused them destruction and loss of life. And after all that was lost, and despite Panzerstadt's significance in Season 2, they were not even granted the dignity of commemoration on the SMPs Wikipedia, left to be archived only in fleeting memories of those who were a part of it, and this singular 30-second video. Panzerstadt wasn't remembered for how it fell, but it didn't disappear quietly either. As while researching this video, I uncovered records of a Panzerstadtian operation that took place before the war, an elaborate heist that resulted in the theft of a country's entire economy. That story is stranger and more deliberate than I expected, and you can find out more by clicking the video on screen. Thank you, and remember, someone always remembers.